You might have seen people go from rags to riches, but have you seen someone go the opposite way? There are actually a lot of times that has happened. And today, we will discuss some of them. Before we continue, if you're new here, welcome to 1%. Here we talk about facts only, and today we will be listing down top 10 billionaires who lost all their wealth and are now broke. Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you'll be updated on our upcoming videos. On number 10, we have Patricia Kluge. Her story is a typical movie. Some of you may know the name Kluge, as she was the wife of John Kluge, who was the richest person alive at one point. She divorced him after some time in marriage and used the settlement money to make herself a fortune. Poor Patricia, however, lost that money, and her story is now like a sad movie with a bittersweet plot. Her husband was a big deal though. He amassed over $4 billion back in '86, which was a huge feat. The age gap between them was hard not to notice, as they were 34 years apart. The divorce made her around $1 billion, but she invested it poorly in a vineyard. The debt came back to her sooner than she thought, which made her sell the winery to Donald Trump, who still owns it. On number 9, we have Bjorgolfur. He was once the richest man of Iceland. He also became the second billionaire in the country. Can you guess who was the first? Well, his own son. Some of you may wonder how this father and son duo made so much money. Bjorgolfur was once the owner of Iceland's second biggest bank, Landsbanken. Well, as expected, he did not have so much of clean money. His net worth amounted over $1.2 billion, but he was soon caught and charged for 12 months in prison and suspended for 2 years. He had 450 charges of bookkeeping offenses. Afterwards, he ran to Russia and remade most of his fortune, but unfortunately, upon his return to Iceland, he declared bankruptcy and lost all his wealth. His son, however, is still a billionaire and doing great. On number 8, we have Stanford. Born in Texas, Alan is most popularly known as the guy who did the second biggest Ponzi scheme ever. He made substantial amount from that, earning as much as $1 million per day. You can only imagine how much money he amassed in the short time it took before he was caught, month after Bernie Madoff, another guy we will talk about in the list, as Bernie's situation was even worse. Stanford was left overshadowed and didn't make the headlines, but unlike some others on the list, over 18,000 victims of this Ponzi scheme did not receive a single penny back. But how much did they get exactly? Well, over $8 billion, and he donated millions of it to politicians. Even after getting caught, the man did not stop, and was soon arrested for 110 years in prison. On number 7, we have Jocelyn Wildenstein, who is notoriously known for the horrible plastic surgery she had. Similar to Patricia, Jocelyn made billions by marrying a rich guy. She met Eike Wildenstein through Adrian Khashoggi, an Arabian arms dealer. Her husband had a net worth of $10 billion and enjoyed horse breeding and art dealings. Unlike Patricia, Jocelyn walked away with over $2.5 billion in the divorce in '99. Not to mention, she got $100 million each year for 13 years consecutively. As she's on the list, she also fell a victim and filed for bankruptcy in 2018, although it is not sure how exactly she lost that much money. On number 6, we have Alberto Vilar. He's one of the shadiest people on the list, as he made his money through tech stocks and led a life of crime. The man was convicted in 2008 for money laundering. He had quite some good respect in the art community, as he was not only a person who led a luxurious life, but spent it on opera and beautiful art. After he was convicted, they wanted to remove his existence in the community, and so they purged his name, pictures, and other possessions of some grandiose stages. This was surely a slap in the face for Alberto, and well deserved for his crimes. He made billions, but after serving 9 years in jail, he came back as a free man and bought the ticket to the opera house for a show. No one remembered him, and surely he won't be able to gain that respect again. On number 5, we have Quinn, who was the richest man in Ireland in 2008. His net worth at that time was around $5 billion, but poor luck struck him just a few years later after he filed for bankruptcy. Sean was only 14 years old when he dropped out of school to borrow £100 and use it to sell gravel. Believe it or not, he climbed the ladder slowly but steadily and built himself a massive empire, only for it to fall later on. He faced some time in jail, but as a person with goodwill, he was released very soon. People of Ireland loved him at some point, but due to some conspiracy and accusations made against him in the past decade, he had made some enemies. Even though he strictly denies all those negative claims about him, unlike others on the list, Sean lost his money due to poor bank investments. On number 4, we have Elizabeth Holmes, perhaps one of the most popular person on this list. Elizabeth dropped out of college to start her new startup for blood testing, Theranos. Through her cunning skills, she managed to accumulate over $9 billion in the startup. However, the flaws and fraud in her technology in blood testing was soon uncovered in 2015, as more people started investigating the matter. In 2018, things were discovered, and it became the front of every news headline: how Elizabeth Holmes scammed so many investors. SEC charged Theranos on her for fraud. She settled these charges by paying $500,000, returning the shares, not being able to run another public company. It has now come to the point that she's unable to pay her lawyers. On third, we have Vijay Mallya, who made his fortune through United Spirits, the largest spirits company in India. He was also the chairman of United Breweries, a giant Indian conglomerate. It would honestly take a while to list out how many companies he was a chairman in. He was one of, if not the biggest businessman in not only India, but globally. If it wasn't him who built the empire, instead it was his father, Vijay Mallya, in 1998. These businesses had a worth of over 11 billion. He made one mistake, and his family whole business went down in dirt. Kingfisher went down, and the bad loans were in 1.5 billion. Mallya is still struggling, as he is one of the primary people behind this whole situation. On number 2, we have Eike Batista, who was once the richest man in Brazil. He had a meteoric rise, and a very similar fall. His businesses of many natural resources poured as he was left promising to bring the golden era to Brazil. His fall was due to many factors, among which the economical crisis was the biggest one. Compared to the others on the list, Batista had a worth of 35 billion. He was the 7th richest man in 2012. His wealth came down to $200 million. As a result of the crisis, he amassed massive debts, and his company's stock prices fell tremendously, leaving him broken. He is now serving 30 years in house arrest due to some frauds he did throughout his time, as of course, the crisis was not the only reason behind this fall. This is all what you've been waiting for. On number 1, we have Bernie Madoff. As we mentioned him earlier, he is the literal face of riches to rags, and also one of the biggest frauds. He is the man responsible for the biggest Ponzi the world has ever seen. In 1960, he founded a penny stock brokerage, and with time, it grew larger into a different company. However, in 2008, he was arrested for smuggling over $64 billion through this Ponzi scheme. He is certainly the richest man on the list, but also the one who fell the hardest. A year after he was arrested, he was sentenced to 150 years in prison. Some lucky victims managed to get their amounts back, but majority of them are still left with no hopes of ever getting it back. That's all for this list. There are many others who had similar fate. If you think we missed anyone, let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, do subscribe and turn that notification bell so you can be notified whenever we have a new upload. In the meantime, check out this video on Elon Musk and how he tackles his competition with PayPal Mafia and other rivals. Stay safe.